Warning. The following emails contain disturbing content which may not be suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. From N-Case, Tuesday, 3:11 p.m. Subject: more crap from our bogus leaders. Hey Dave, usual crap at the meeting, so you didn't really miss anything. District heads are giving the head up on that math program. Nobody saw that coming, right? 30 kids in a classroom, no time to work, any of them individually. God. Career leaders busy work in addition to grading classwork and putting together lesson plans and progress reports. And now, the first thing after Christmas break, we also now have to organize song and dance routines and plays and crafts that'll help each of our kids learn math. This job used to be so much more fun in the 80s. What in hell happened? And the Sandra Barnes crap on top of all of that? I mean, 6th grade is already short one teacher about George getting the boot. All for giving a female student a congratulatory pat on the back, which I witnessed as a harmless gesture. Yes, Judy brought it up again, and the district jackasses were dodgier than the last time. You, me, Judy, and Al are probably the only ones in the district that know he didn't molest her. God, I'm not sure Sandra even knows anymore with how her parents are carrying on. But you'd think they'd listen to me at the very least. I mean, like, what the hell? I've only been here like 15 years. What do I know? Here, George's wife is divorcing him. Do you hear about that? Yeah, she actually believes these allegations, so to speak. I'd say good riddance if she wasn't taking the house with her. His last day was today, by the way. Throwing him a farewell party tonight at Judy's place. He'd be really happy if you came. He's in awful shape, seeing how pale he is now. He'll probably never teach again. By choice, I mean, he's had it at this point. I wouldn't blame him. He's also pretty short with a lot of people, especially Wright and Stratton. Seems to have it in for Babs Dunwick as well. The new music teacher. Caught him tossing dirty looks her way in the lounge. Was she the one that fingered him? Just another pleasant day at Aspensville Elementary. Saw yet another example of a terrific sportsman Jerry is. Wesley sprained his ankle running for second base, and Jerry was the first in line to help him hobble to the nurse. Anyways, pats to the other boys on the back after a game and congratulates them for their performance. See why George liked him so much? Thought he was just a timid 8th grader that couldn't even make eye contact. He transforms when he puts on that jersey. Stop by my room when you got a minute and tell me about your classes, presentations, all that magical stuff. Colton was telling me all about it at his recess. Best regards, Neil.
From J to Nita. Tuesday, 3:30 p.m. Subject: greetings from 8th grade. Long day today, but worth it. You've got to see those sea critters little Eddie Sands drew for his biology report. I'm trying to convince him to submit it to an art contest. You should have seen how he beamed when I told him how good it was. I think he's my favorite student this year. He's the favorite of a lot of teachers. He's such a sweet kid. I'm staying late tonight to get some work done. Feel free to stop by and say hello. Otherwise, John and I will see you at the party. Maybe party is a bad word for such an occasion. I know for a fact we'll be hurting for a baseball coach as good as George. He knew how to inspire the boys. He was like a mentor to poor Jerry Jacobs. Oh, it's BYOB, FYI, we're on a budget. J.
From N-Case, Wednesday, 1:18 p.m. Subject: talk to George. Hey Dave, been trying to get a hold of George, but he's not talking to anybody. He acted strange at the party, all things considered, but he looked like he hadn't been doing much sleeping. Hands shook badly like he had no nerves left, and Judy thinks that he was simply suffering from overexposure to politics of Aspenville. Can't blame him if that's all it was, but I don't think that's what it was all the way through. Seemed quite upset about things other than the Barnes disaster. Wouldn't say what though. I remembered that it was actually Hanson that fingered him, not Dunwick, and noticed that Hanson didn't talk much to a lot of us after George left. What's pathetic about this whole thing is cleaved the faculty into cliques. Good thing for Hanson, otherwise she wouldn't have any friends here. Never liked her, too uptight, and kind of mean to Miss Willie and Miss Dunwick. Like, her contempt for a person is equal to how friendly the person is. She loathes Dunwick. Anyway, lunch is almost over. See you on bus duty. Neil.
From K. Willie, Thursday, 12:45 p.m. Subject, Art Hilarity. LOL, I got you beat. Check the attachment from the inspired drawing that Sean turned in today. We were drawing animals too. I actually haven't been to her room. But I can't blame the kids. A doll-faced 30-year-old brunette who can sing like an angel and light up any room she walks into has a certain effect on people of all ages. She's a breath of fresh air after working up the hall from the Wicked Witch of the West, Mrs. Wright, LOL.
Original message from M. Preston. I have 2 dogs that like to wrestle. The translation for this is, I have 2 dogs and they like to wrestle. Student's name, Richie Sawyer. Assignment. Draw a picture of your pets and describe them in 3 complete sentences. The actual picture is one dog vigorously humping the other. Bonus points. I saw his mom at a conference today, and I got to share it with her. She went beet red. I had to share that with I had to share that before class goes to music. Kids are getting restless. Anyways, excited to play Dunwick's games. I wish they'd listen to me like they listen to her. She likes to throw her food trash away in the cafeteria, though. Her room always smells like oysters just a bit. Ugh.
From J. Tanita, Friday, 1:31 p.m. Subject, trouble. Jerry Jacobs is in the office again for fighting. He sent Corbin to the nurse with a bloody nose. So unlike him. Any news how it happened? J. From J. Tanita, Friday, 1:59 p.m. Subject, more trouble. Corbin had a concussion too. Jerry's going to be suspended. Can you talk Sinclair out of it? He's really mad at Jerry, but Jerry hasn't been himself. I think he's angry about George being fired. He was crying about it yesterday. J.
From N Case, Friday, 3:25 p.m. Subject line, don't feel bad. Al Sinclair is a really hard rock to move, especially where fighting is concerned. Frankly, I think Jerry just needs some time away from school, but the really scary thing is that I really couldn't get much out of him. Why don't I just quickly copy and paste a little transcript of the conversation I made? So, I heard that you had a little trouble with Corbin today. Yeah? You guys have an argument, or would you like to elaborate on it? No? Why would I? Then, what's the problem? I don't... What prompted this? I don't know. Why don't you figure it out? You're telling me that you, beat him up for nothing. No reason whatsoever. You told me that there's nothing that fueled this supposed argument. No? Then why did you beat him up? I don't know. This isn't the first time I've had a one-sided talk with him. Got the same answers last time he sent the boy to the nurse. He seemed genuinely frustrated this time, though. His answers showed a bit of malice in his voice, like he really didn't know why he beat up Corbin so badly. You should have seen him going at it, by the way. Just a quick note. I don't think it was Jerry's, well, first fight. Little Debbie Walker saw the whole thing happen. She was more than a little shaken up. I mean, she's known Jerry since kindergarten as the nice boy who breaks up fights, not starts them. Some of the faculty are a little rattled too. Allison hasn't, I don't even think, has blinked since recess, and Dunwich looks like a pale squash. You'd think that they've never seen a playground fight before. Judy was right about Jerry's complexion, by the way. He looks sick and sleep-deprived and agitated, like he had a twitch in his left cheek and wanted to leave without him. Anyway, something's wrong with him, but I couldn't place it. A week off from school should definitely be good for him. At least in my general opinion. However, there was something odd that happened. I think I should quickly note just to get this in writing. He did something strange before he left with his dad. I put my hand on his shoulder, and he told me I see him at practice in a week. The moment I touched him, he flinched and shuddered a little, as if my hand was made out of cold wiggly worms. He left without making eye contact. Is that bizarre or what? He didn't seem squeamish in social studies. I'm worried about him. Remember Ethan Baker and the drug trouble from 2 years ago? Do you think that Jerry might mess with that stuff? Any of it? Neil.
From J. Tanita. Monday, 10:15 a.m. Subject, scary update. This sort of rumor-mongering needs to stop. We're not in high school anymore.
Original message from M. Preston. Babs Dunwich let it slip that George Keller was spying on her after school a week or so before he got the boot. She actually threatened him with a lawyer if he didn't stop. I even remember catching him peeking in her door once nobody was around. I mean, like, creepy. Anybody know anything about this? I'd love for some information. From N Case, Thursday, 3:11 p.m. Subject line, more gossip. A younger percentage of the faculty has a habit of suddenly remembering unsettling things about George. Judy's ready to talk about Al about stopping it. It's getting out of hand, to be quite frank. Here's a little bit of a quote of what Meg had to say. I don't mean to be a rumor monger, but George was a great guy. But this could change our perspective on how about the Barnes debacle. Dunwich says that George was always watching her after school, and that's gross enough, but that doesn't end there. I told Allison about it. I know I shouldn't have, but I was kind of trying to laugh it off, and she went white. She lives up the street from Dunwich's place and swears on her mother's soul that she saw George driving around a neighborhood not too long before the Barnes debacle. George's house is on North Hill, 15 miles away. What if George really is stalking Dunwich? What if he would do something crazy? If he couldn't get her? Like, try something or try someone more accessible. The idea has no logic to it. I mean, seriously, guys. I don't know what the beef is with the other faculty members, if he had any, but I know for a fact that she didn't hurt Sandra Barnes. Anyone can know the person for years without really knowing them, but our rooms are connected. We've chatted after class like every day while grading papers for 15 years in a row. Sandra only came to his class after school to wait for his parents. And he always kept her busy the whole time by cleaning and organizing or simply having her do homework. Nothing happened. Even if he wanted to hurt her, he didn't have the opportunity because I was there. Still can't reach him, by the way. Doesn't answer his phone. I wonder why he's so goddamn timid lately. Should be in Seattle by now. Yours truly, Neil.
From A. Sinclair. Friday, 7:45 a.m. Subject, email abuse. In the future, anyone who uses the email network to gossip about George Keller, the Barnes family, or private affairs of faculty members will answer to me. This is an elementary school. Not a public forum. Thanks, A. Sinclair.
Text message from Neil. Texting from practice, Jerry like old self again. Healthy complexion, healthy attitude, friendly attitude is on top of that. Patch things up with Corbin. We'll send him around to drop off the copies you wanted. Monday, 4 p.m.
From J to Nita. Tuesday, 8:15 a.m. Subject, babysitting ventures. Hi, Dave! I need a great big favor. Allison has a late conference on Friday, and I'm babysitting her kids that evening. But they can't have dogs because their HOA is run by Nazis. John has been working late in the office all week, so my poor Dilbert will be at home alone, wondering where his mommy and daddy have gone. Would you be willing to stop by my house and check on him? Just say hello to him, check his food and water, and help yourself to the fridge if you like. I'll be heading straight to Allison's house after school Friday morning, so I can give you my key then. Thanks in advance, Jay. From J to Nita, Wednesday, 11:45 a.m. Subject, trouble again. Nobody's hurt, thankfully, but I'm frightened now. Jerry's become unnecessarily aggressive in class. The slightest mistake in his work makes him physically violent. I had asked him twice to calm down, and on his third outburst, he actually threw his textbook across the room. I told him to go stand outside, and he practically hissed at me and gave me this look like he was thinking about taking a bite out of me. He looks exhausted and malnourished again, and his skin is very pale, and he smells awful. I sent him to the office and had the nurse meet him en route. He should still be there. Can you ask Neil to go talk to him? What is wrong with that boy? Jay.
Text message from Neil. Boys' room in grade 6 hall. Get here fast. Jerry's dead. Need help keeping the kids out till the police arrive. Hurry. Aspen Vale Post headline. Tragedy at Aspen Vale Elementary School. 1 dead, 1 hospitalized. Aspen Vale Elementary School was closed early this Thursday afternoon when student Jeremy Jacobs, age 12, was found dead in the boys' bathroom from self-inflicted injuries. Jeremy violently attacked childhood friend Deborah Walters at age 11 in an apparent drug-induced mania prior to his suicide, police have said. Deborah has been confined to Halcon Peak Sanitarium, where doctors are helping her recover from her shock. The coroner reported several crude injection wounds on Jeremy's body, which have yielded very faint trace of an unidentified chemical, similar to, another chemical known as roofies to the general public. Deborah has appeared to have the same marks, police said, but in her present state, she could not verify whether they were self-inflicted or a result of Jeremy's attack. Police suspect that Jeremy's drug use was not limited to this substance and may have led to his violent behavior and ultimately his suicide. Though, to date, there are no paraphernalia that has been found in Jacob's house, locker, or any school-affiliated sources. The roofie has been often used in teen suicides, but has yet to be known if it led to Jeremy's suicide or reaction in a mild day on his death, nor if the chemicals were produced by Jeremy himself or by an associate. Chief Cuddy promises, though, that an investigation of Aspen Vale's elementary school, neighborhoods, and other locations will be conducted to further prevent further tragedies. No faculty members were available for comment.
From J to Nita, Saturday, 12:40 a.m. Subject, why didn't you pick up? George lied about going to Seattle. He was here on Allison Street. I was playing with the kids in the front yard and saw him cruise by in that clunker of his, looking up and down the sidewalk like he was house shopping, stony-faced like it was the most important part of his day. And that's not the weirdest part. We made eye contact. He froze with his mouth wide open, like he'd seen a ghost in me. And then, he tore up the street and vanished around the corner. Well, I tried to call you about 8 times. I didn't see him again, so I called Allison and told her what happened. She got worried about Miss Dunwick and thought I'd check on her and ask if George had been harassing her. The street ends in a cul-de-sac with 4 houses, and I'm told Miss Dunwick lives in the quaint little white one with the red roofing and the red birdhouse out front. I thought I saw her pale little face peeking out one of the windows when I walked up to the driveway, but nobody answered when I knocked on the door. If she was home, she was probably scared out of her wits. I feel like I should have called the police, but I didn't know what to think. I still don't. Dave, I think George is genuinely disturbed. What can we do? There's got to be some way we can help him. Forward this to Neil. I know the last thing he needs right now is more unnerving news, but I feel he ought to know about this. George was his friend after all. Jay. From A. Sinclair, Monday, 7:46 a.m. Subject, recent tragedy. We've all had a long weekend to gather our thoughts and pay our respects. Jacob's loss is felt by everyone here, so this morning I will make an announcement and ask for a moment of silence for Jerry. Mrs. Wakely is collecting donations for Jacob's family, and I encourage everyone to give what they can. Mrs. Tanita is additionally collecting donations for the Walters family to help Debbie through her illness. At present, she is not receiving visitors. The grief counselors will be available throughout this week to speak with any students who need them. The DARE officers are due to arrive after second bell. The assembly will be at 1. Accompanying police officers will be inspecting the campus and asking questions, and I expect everyone to give their full cooperation. I don't need to reiterate that the school email is not bathroom wall for scribbling gossip. Please refrain from discussing anything unrelated to the circumstance. Thanks, A. Sinclair. From J. Tanita, Monday, 3:40 p.m. Subject, Neil. Something's really bothering him. He acts like he's crawled inside a shell and won't come out. Like a little boy who's woken up from a dream too terrible to share. Has he spoken to you or emailed you at all? Please let me know. I've asked Al to consider giving him a week off. Jay. From J. Tanita, Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Subject, Jerry. I've seen her. She's jittery and pale, and has grocery bags under her eyes. Keeping up her cheerful demeanor seems to wear her out. I wonder how much of it has to do with George. I'm afraid to ask.
Original message from M. Preston. I stopped by the Jacobs house to give my condolences. They have said that they hate how the police have handled this mess, especially with the drug allegations. The investigators have accomplished nothing apart from hurting the school's reputation, as well as Jerry's. They tell me Jerry couldn't have been using drugs because he spent too much of his free time with video games after school. Like, baseball and other things like that, and helping teachers clean their room. He really liked Dunwick and helped clean her room like clockwork after the last bell. She, must missed him more than any of us. No wonder why she's such a mess. She's got to be the sweetest woman on the planet. From N. Case, Tuesday, 11:48 p.m. Subject line, confidential. This is for your eyes and Judy's eyes only. Nobody else will appreciate it or even understand it, and frankly, I don't think you even understand it either. I've been so distant. It's taken me a while to arrange my thoughts into something coherent. I can't even decide if I ought to tell people or just keep my goddamn mouth shut. Maybe you'll help me convince myself that this horror of this thing has been distorted. My perception of time, memory, maybe past trauma, I don't even know. I lied to the police about Jerry. I lied because Debbie Walkers was pumped full of meds and locked in a nut house for telling the sodding truth. Here's exactly what happened before I texted Dave. Second recess has been on for about 10 minutes. I was short on the Riki Tiki Davy papers, and I was heading to the office to print some more. I was 3 steps into the Centurium when a long, shrill howl bowled out of the 6th grade hall doors. Debbie Walters was hot on its heels. Her face was chalk white, gleaming with sweat, straining itself into a expression of confusion, horror, and disgust. All at once, she crashed headlong into me, screaming once again. I held onto her and tried to calm her down. I noticed the bloody welt on her neck, red stains on her collar and blouse. She sobbed and hyperventilated and barely managed to say, "There's a monster in the girls' room pretending to be Jerry." Her speech became incoherent. She nearly passed out from the lack of breath trying to give details, but I only understood a few words and phrases. Like, gone to wash up. Jeremy followed, looking sick, blocked her into a corner, slimy eels pawing at her, needles in her skin, lightheadedness running midway through, rambling until she fell to the floor and fainted. Eddie Sands peeked out from the gathering crowd of children and sent them to the nurse. He then told the others to give Debbie some breathing room, and we ran to the 6th grade bathroom. Know now what that inexplicable thing was about Jerry when I talked to him in the office 2 weeks ago. That one thing that I just couldn't put my finger on. It was a sharp, aquatic stench, like clams or crayfish sitting in the sun, that nearly strangled me when I opened the bathroom door. I fought for consciousness and I stumbled in. The mirror over the sink shattered. Jerry was on his hands and knees, contorting as if it was fighting the urge to vomit. Shirt torn to ribbons and a large glass sliver in his right hand. My brain told me to grab him and take the weapon before he could hurt someone else, but horror froze my limbs and held me back. I couldn't find the words to do it justice. Jerry's skin had changed between a hamburger gray and a feverish white, like an octopus unsure of its mood. Flesh on his arms were ripped back and infested with thousands of angry worms. He sat up and glared at me through the wet, pain-wrecked eyes and drove the glass into his throat. He was dead in moments. I went on autopilot, called the police, and blocked the bathroom so the kids wouldn't go in there and see that godforsaken thing. Police got there, and my safety broke finally, and just dropped me into darkness. They couldn't question me for at least an hour. My eyes are starting to burn. I had nothing to give them. Nothing that they'd accept. Their assumption was that Jerry was already dead when I arrived, and I just nodded my head. What else could I tell them? He had to do it, officer, or else he would have turned into a worm monster and would have been very unhappy. Now Jerry's labeled psychiatrically disturbed and a very mentally incapable young man by adults, and that emo kid that killed himself in the bathroom by his peers. Police are scurrying around the neighborhood looking for adolescent drug labs. Is there like some new ultra-violent worm drug on the market now? Tell me I'm fucking crazy. Better know what? Fuck it. Yell it at me. I am crazy. Then I'll know what I saw wasn't real. Hoping that the police do find something that explains it all. Something that like a toxin in the air, or... In any case, thanks for listening. Come talk to me after the last bell when you find a time. Again, I'd appreciate if you both keep the lid on this. But if you feel the need to report it or avoid me like the plague, I understand. Yours truly, Neil. Oh, P.S. I heard from George's meeting with him last week. It sounded urgent.
From Jay to Nita. Friday, 3:31 p.m. Subject, greetings from grade 8. It's surprising how quickly Aspenvale has recovered from Jerry's death. Life goes on. I guess everyone seems back to normal. Allison is neurotic. Miss Willie is bubbly. Miss Dunwick is as cheery and radiant as ever. And I guess she's got other boys to fill Jerry's shoes. She's become quite popular. the boys on the baseball team are showing some of the Blue Jay spirit we've missed so much. Most importantly, the gentle teddy bear we know as Neil has returned to us, though I don't know for how long. He's supposed to have that rendezvous with George today. They're meeting in a public place, but the idea still worries me. I am in the meantime a busy little bee arranging the science fair. Hopefully we will have more variety this year. Volcano models are off limits. I put my foot down. Eddie Sands has a marvelous shark exhibit in the works. He's doing detailed drawings of shark anatomy, shark diets, and everything. He's got a pet shark that will make a very nice centerpiece. I admire his ambition and his diligence, but I wish he'd take it a little more slowly. He's pale and looks a little irritable from lack of sleep. I encourage him nonetheless. Jay.
From Neil. At Starbucks, George was a no-show. Called and said something about something more important came up. Did he contact you? Friday, 4:16 p.m. From N-Case. Wednesday, 1:03 p.m. The latest headlines. Make no mistake, it was George, from what I gather. Babs Dunwick and Allison Travis were talking about it, about a weekend of guitar lessons for Alice's son Teddy. Allison was giving her a ride home, and then they got to the parking lot when George came out of behind Stratton's SUV and tried to pelt Dunwick with a Molotov cocktail. Of all things, apparently Allison is being in a kill zone, fazed him not one bit. Allison wrestled him for the bomb until the janitor came and took it away. George was snarling like an animal. They got him at the police station now, but it looks like that he'll be going to Helkin Pack instead of prison. He's damn lucky because Dunwick isn't pressing charges. He's double damned lucky that someone was there to stop him. Going up there tomorrow to talk to him. You'll hear about extramarital affairs going bad and ending violence. It's no secret that George didn't get along with his wife, and so Dunwick is secretive about her personal life as well. We'll keep you and Judy updated. Also, need to borrow your stapler again, if you can stop that off. Yours truly, Neil.
From Jay to Nita. Thursday, 12:21 p.m. Subject, Jerry all over again? Today in the office I overheard Al and the nurse discussing a raw welt on Eddie Sands' neck, just below his shirt collar. He says he doesn't know where it came from, and looks embarrassed and ashamed when asked about it. The nurse is convinced his dad is slapping him around at home. She thinks that the welt is from a belt buckle biting into his skin. It's just one abuse rumor after another at this school, isn't it? They have never hurt a child in their lives. They don't even believe in spanking. It's not abuse. It's the same as with Jerry. I know it. Eddie's gotten aggressive in class and snaps at his classmates like their every word is an attack on him. He destroys a perfectly good shark drawing for not being perfect enough. And my goodness, he can't stand when I touch him. I tried to take him by the hand and lead him outside to cool off, and he leapt away, in what I can only describe as squeamish terror, flattened himself against the wall, and stared blankly at me. Eddie should still be at the office. I'd like Neil to see him and give his opinion. Whatever Jerry was fooling around with, it's got Eddie too. I'm sure of it. Jay.
From N-Case, Thursday, 6:49 p.m. Subject line, all sorts of weirdness. I saw George and Eddie today. Nothing makes sense. Or maybe everything makes perfect sense in a logic pattern that is alien to me. Last bell came and I went to the office to see Eddie, and Eddie wasn't there. Carol said Eddie had gone to the music room to help Miss Dunwick. Walked down to the music room and found it deserted, but the lights were still on. I knew he'd been there because Jerry's boiled seafood musk, going by what Judy said. Eddie walks home from school, where I assumed he went home already, and appeared that Dunwich was still on campus because of her office was locked and dark. But I could hear a deep hum inside, like she'd let the computer on or something. She'll probably be back any minute. Skipped my grading and drove right to the police station. The station has a cold crypt of a basement with several holding cells. George was sitting patiently in the third one, but they wouldn't let me in to talk with him, so I stood and talked through the bars. He wouldn't answer when I asked him questions if he meant to kill anyone. I sympathized with his situation with females, his wife treating him like a dog, his troubles with the Barnes family, and it seemed to soften him up a little. I asked him if he had been seeing Barbara secretly, and promised that I would understand if he had. He guffawed and pulled his lips into a mad, leering, sardonic grin. This is what he said. Only once saw her at night in all of her naked glory. Beautiful fucking prepubescent sprawling breasts no one could resist, but I'm not good enough for a succubus's tentacles. I'm fresh enough for the lamprey's fangs. I can prove it. I hear much of the rifts, Neil. The rumors of the chasms and spaces between the holes of the apartments there are not yet evolved enough to see except at the right angles. They exist. They exist, and some things find them and skip between the apartments. You believe it? The police have all my things. I'll release them to you if only you read and believe everything that is there. I don't care where they send me, a prison or an asylum. I'm not safe anywhere. I'll be skipping apartments soon and on my own way. I know, you see, and am therefore a threat. You're a threat. The papers you'll see. Read the fucking papers. Read them. Decide for yourself if this madness, if this is just madness. Save yourself. I won't judge. Just goddamn this down. Fuck it. Leave. I couldn't get anything useful out of him. His ramblings were odd. All of his replies were, then on this goddamn town. Police gave me his personal effects. They filled every single cardboard box, and I drove back to the school. I saw Eddie in the hallway, getting extra chairs out of a skip supply closet. He nearly jumped out of his skin when I called him. Then it was my turn when I saw his pale hamburger gray skin. Then I caught a whiff of that seafood stank. I thought you'd be home by now, I said. I tried to smile so I could, manage in the stench. I'm helping Miss Dunwich, he almost mumbled. Are you feeling okay, buddy? He walked off with the chair like he didn't hear me, or more preferably, he ignored me. Only looked, though, a little of George's stuff. I only got a chance to look through a little bit of George's stuff. He's been very busy, and he's looked like he's been putting together a manuscript of completely random subjects, a wall of text, or an email of very interesting bits. Tell Judy I agree with her about Eddie. Neil. From Neil. Copy of Dunwich's employee profile when I was first hired by the direct. Odd note scribbled in the margin by George. Teacher wanted. Must have children. George didn't copy a print of her fingerprint clearance card. It doesn't even exist. Thursday, 7:17 p.m. From Neil. Old headlines about the Evergreen Elementary School in Seattle. May 1990, Jeff Ellis takes a gun on campus, but no one is injured. Doesn't explain why he did or who he wanted dead. He spent 6 months in a juvenile hall and came out normal. February 1991, Joey Jones attacks 2 girls in PE locker room. Girls make wild claims about Josie not being human. One girl is sent to a nunnery by her parents. Joey unwilling to remember the incident. March 1991. Bent Brooks shoots self with dad's gun in bedroom and has been suspended twice for violent behavior in her class. Journalistic notes have been increasing violence on campus in each article, drugs suspected in each circular welt on all the boys involved. Sound familiar? I hope it does. Copy of last year's yearbooks there. No signatures. Thursday, 8:44 p.m.
From A. Sinclair, Friday, 9:01 a.m. Subject, Justice Prevails. Aspenvale police arrested a 30-year-old couple known for dealing drugs to minors, both looking at a very lengthy prison sentence. Campus drug abuse drawing to a close. Rejoice. A. Sinclair.
Text message from Neil. Two addresses, Seattle and Aspenville. Notes, both houses' histories, first abandoned in 1986, remain deserted until condemned in 2001. Second hasn't had any occupants for 10 years. Friday, 1:10 p.m. Text message from Neil. Examine the yearbooks very closely. 7 boys were circled in red ink. Boys circled in grade 5 are Darius Toncho, Todd Sears, Ken Galloway, and in grade 7, Gary Yee, Eric Hams, Eddie Sands, and Jerry Jacobs. An X out on Jerry's picture. Code next to each of them are like 15M, R1. It's just things that didn't make sense. 30 minutes, second recess, Tuesday, Thursday. Jerry and Eddie are marked taked out. What was George doing with these kids? Can you ask around and find out if George Keller was seen around these boys or if he contacted them in the last few weeks?
From J. Tanita, Friday, 3:24 p.m. Subject, creepy stuff. Neil is making inquiries on the stuff George left him. He asked me to send a few of those newspaper clippings, attached, so you can read them in detail. Don't show them to anyone else. He's got some weird idea in his head and won't tell me what it is. I'm afraid he'll end up an obsessive lunatic, like George. What reason could he possibly have to drive out to Aspenville University? Hope your day has been pleasant and cheerful. I've got a headache, and my stomach is unsettled. I tried to get my class from the music room before the bell, and this oysterish smell in there made me think of Jerry, and I shuddered. I regret I was short with Miss Dunwick when we left. I should apologize. It wasn't her fault. There's more rumors going around, too, and they make sleep difficult. I see nothing terribly unusual about George's disappearance, considering the living conditions at Halcon Peak. My cousin had a room on the second floor for 3 years. I wouldn't want to be cooped up in that zoo either. But Meg won't shut up about how he screamed and how he turned the place inside out and never found him. Just wait. I may retire this year. I've simply got to get out of this condemned town. J.
From N Case, Saturday, 2 p.m. AU interviews. Had to check up on some details. George did some serious digging into Barbara Dunwick's background that leaves me simultaneously in awe and in terror of him. The end result, even with my contribution, doesn't even make out an ounce of sense or dig barely deep enough into the rabbit hole to make anything coherent out of. But why don't I start from the beginning? Turn back the clock to 1988. Aspenville University Department of Science hired a brand new research assistant, a stunning young brunette named Barbara Dunwick. Her degrees were in biology and physics. Her hobbies were astronomy and art. He assisted the science professors in research for every scientific field. The professors I spoke to, those few that knew Barb's back then and were still employed as well as alive and healthy, described her as a smart, creative woman with an unbreakable optimism. She had no family and never spoke to her parents. Why don't we move ahead to the late 1990s? Dunwick adopted a skittish, relentless behavior. She did what she was told without much word, losing herself in her work. She seemed so desperate to escape the outside world for as long as she could. She skittered to her home at the end of the day like she was afraid of being seen and disappeared into her apartment until the very next day, her teary eyes darted and bulging at the slightest movement within 100 feet of her. She only spoke to a psych professor, and only once, about an awful reoccurring dream where ghastly voices of the nameless things were whispered at her in front of the cosmos. Voices that sometimes reached her while she was wide awake. She suggested all kinds of fraudulent interpretations, but she wasn't happy with any of them and skittered out. 3 weeks of this went by. Then she came to the lab one day, cheerful demeanor restored, and a cheerfully quiet university to pursue other interests. Off she went to the West Coast, settling in Seattle, where she became a teacher. She just went up and changed professions on a whim. And the universe played right along with it. Waltzed into her first teaching job without so much of a background check, much less fingerprint clearance or a clearance card, easily as replying as a want ad. There was this want ad that apparently aired way back when, and it simply wrote, "Teacher wanted, must love children." Other oddities included her never owning another car after hers broke down, her reclusive streak, and limiting her friends to co-workers at school who rarely met with her outside of school hours, her never dating or never being married despite her youth, good looks, obvious charm, and sudden transfer from Evergreen Elementary to Washington to Aspen here in Colorado. Have to be careful that I don't into George's obsessive mentality.
From J to Nita, Tuesday, 12:45 p.m. Subject, Internal Affairs. We spoke to Al about this. He refused to do anything about it for fear of legal actions from Dunwich. I guess there's really nothing we can do. No one had seen her exhibit inappropriate behavior with the children. Anyway, he says her sunny presence boosts the children's interest about school, and it would be a shame to lose her. He's got a point, though. Whether or not she's a drug dealer and a child molester, the evidence is pretty circumstantial. I don't know how we can get the kids to talk about what they do in her room when no one's around. That part of the building is practically deserted during recess and after hours. George must have suspected her all this time. That makes his forced retirement all the more depressing. All we can do is keep an eye out on the boys. I'll try to reason with Al later. He should at least look into it. J.
Original message from N. Case. So it appears that Miss Dunwich did not go through all the proper processes to becoming a teacher. Any sort of background checking or fingerprinting or even a clearance ID card were simply skipped based on pretenses of other people. It's unsure why or how, but I have no idea what the hell happened. All the boys circled in the yearbook exhibit Jerry's symptoms: sickly gray complexion, aggressive behavior, one or more circular welts on the nape of their neck or somewhere else on the torso. Allison, Meg, and others are all confirmed to be 6 boys that were alone with Dunwich at some point during the day, for at least a quarter of an hour. That's what the codes mean. Time spent assisting Dunwich. Talked to Evergreen principal over long distance. He couldn't divulge much for legal reasons, but he did state that Barbara Dunwich was mixed up in all sorts of weird shit throughout the 90s, and her decision to transfer was firmly encouraged by administrators. All the boys in those headlines were her after-school helpers. Any irrational thoughts? Plenty are entering my head, and even suggest that they might be true if all conflicts of all known laws of reality. Can't get George's babbling out of my head. I think I'm going insane. I asked Dunwich about her previous job as a research assistant at the university when I picked up my class for music. She shot one quiet blizzard my way, as though if I asked her what colorful underwear she had on. Yours truly, Neil. From Neil's text message. Eddie's gone again. Music room deserted like last time. Lights still on. Office unlocked. Smells awful. I have to find him. Takeout. Jesus Christ. I know what he meant. Sick joke. She took Jerry home. Took Eddie home. Find Dunwick. If she's still on campus, tackle her and keep her there. Text message from Neil. At the cul-de-sac on Allison Street. Found a cute house with red birdhouse in front. Dunwick's not here yet. Call Judy and ask her what's keeping her. She's supposed to meet me here. Message sent Tuesday, 3:39 p.m. From Neil. Text message. I can't see inside. Blinds are drawn all over. Where the hell is Judy? Tuesday, 3:45 p.m. New text message from Neil. There's a pale face in the window. He's peeking through the blinds. I'm not sure if he sees me. If it sees me. It's probably a prowler hiding out, even though it's still daylight. Message sent Tuesday, 3:47 p.m. New text message from Neil. Holy shit, is that Eddie Sands? Message sent Tuesday, 3:50 p.m. New text message from Neil. I'm not waiting, I'm going in now. Message sent Tuesday, 3:51 p.m. New text message from Neil. Front door is locked, climbing the fence, I'm going back. Tell Judy I'm in front, I will unlock. Message sent Tuesday, 3:56 p.m. New text message from Neil. Something is very wrong here. I get the feeling that there is something more going on. Message sent Tuesday, 4:08 p.m. New message from Neil. Abandoned interior. It's in shambles. There's nothing here. My God, this can't be right. There's no wallpaper, no furniture, no lights, naked, moldy concrete. 2 boxes in the corner of the largest room is dusty. Boxes are full of trash and carpet shreds. Can't be the right house. Nothing lives here. Nothing ever lived here. There's a stench here. It smells like spoiled clams. Message sent 4:15 p.m. New message from Neil. I think Judy's here now. Tuesday, 4:17 p.m.
From J to Nita. Sunday, 7:50 p.m. Subject, idiots, idiots, idiots. We should have seen this coming. Half-naked first grader rescued from the burning home of his music teacher. What business Dunwick had taking him there after school hours is unthinkable. The police have questioned all the afflicted boys, and they've got enough clues to Dunwick's rotten doings to arrest her, if they ever find her. So what's the verdict on the district office? Here's an excerpt from their letter to Al, which I'm not supposed to have, but the hell with them. However, due to the transgressions of George Keller, who is also missing, we feel the district's reputation will not survive a second molestation scandal. Therefore, we have to resolve keeping the press out of this matter with the police's help. The boys' families have agreed that transferring Barbara Dunwick to a stricter school district is the best course of action. Transfer is the answer? Are they so intent on pretending nothing's wrong that they'll let this disgusting molester go unpunished? Or is the state just too embarrassed to admit that the sweet little music teacher outsmarted them and disappeared? How can they lie to themselves like this? How can they be so completely blind? Why don't we give Dunwick the Aspenville Pride Award while we're at it? So we deal swift justice to George and then quietly sweep the real monster under the rug to keep the family's funds coming? Tom and Wendy are furious now, but who knows what the district will offer their son to keep their mouths shut. The other parents are pathetic. They're given pats on the back for their tries with Dunwick as they assault their classmates on the playground and in the bathroom. God only knows what horrid substances that whore was giving those boys. Worst of all is poor Neil is in the hospital. The few times he's conscious, he won't speak to anyone. The news must have hit him hard. There's no justice in this city. Well, that's that, I guess. School's back to normal tomorrow. John and I are on our way to take Neil home. He emailed me and said he was leaving whether the doctors liked it or not. I can't stand the thought of him being cooped up in there. Jay.
From N Case, Sunday, 8:01 p.m. Subject line, no subject. I've got to get out of here. My God, Dave. A whole week's gone. A whole week I wasted lying here. A whole week in that closet holding my breath. My God, Dave, that house. The address George found. The star succubus lair. Nobody's name is on the papers. No electricity, no gas, no water, no nothing. She didn't need any of that. It was the little one she needed. Ever notice how sick she got after Jerry died? A drug addict. She's a drug addict suffering from withdrawal. Got to keep them away from her. Is that Eddie in the back room staring out the window? Why is fucking shirt off? Where are all those marks on his back? Why is he staring? Staring out the window like a dog waiting for mommy to come home. Can't text Dave. No time. It's not Judy coming through the front door. I haven't unlocked it yet. Go. Got to hide. The hall closet. Hide and wait. My God, what's she doing to that boy? Get the drop on her. Get him out. The doors close and lock. Deep humming like the humming I heard in her office. It's an awful pitch though now. My ears are ringing whale distortion pedals. My God, what is it? Flooding like water in the front door, across the foyer, through the hall like an avalanche. Past the closet, flows under the door. The stench. Don't vomit! Just a crack. Just a crack. Don't cough. Are those my hands shaking like leaves? Lungs crying? Sobbing for air? Just peek. Shh. Just peek. I can't stay here forever. Just peek. Eddie's not at the window. He's in the center of the room. Profile to the doorway. Right half. Room mercifully out of view. Was alive with shadows of something dancing. Whipping flagella to floor to ceiling. Some whip in the view. You licking the boy's chest? Stop staring. Get him out. I gotta get him out. Matchbox in my pocket. In my hand. Strike one. Fold inside. Box ignites like a flare. Leap out of the door. Across the hall. Into the putrid stinking room. Eddie's looking up at me. He looks frightened now. Flare leaves my hand. Burns it. High-pitched air. Red siren throttles my skull. Don't look away. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. Why did you look? Running down a hall, oh my God, Eddie's in my arms, and I'm running down a hall, barren, dirty hallway, stenches across the world, splintering wood behind me. It's a siren again, the flooding corridor, lapping at my ankles. Don't look again. I see the door? No, it's locked. Run for the window, one for the duck head, jump, pray, landed on the sea of black without Eddie. Spent a whole week there, staring at a blurry ceiling, suffering recurring dreams about drowning in rotting oceans, Roman pillars, hairy tentacles, biting, blood-sucking, child-perverting, a parasite, mouths loom overhead. I woke up in an office. No, not an office, a hospital. I can't stay here, Dave. She escaped through the rift. She had a whole week to find a way back. She'll come. She'll drag me to wherever she wants me to, Dave. Maybe she's going for George. Or worse, she'll do to me. She did to the real Barbara Dunwick. What she did to the boys, who she tried to do to Cherry. I can't hear the rustling, scratching. Tap, tap, tap the cosmic veil looking for weak spots. I hear her awful voice calling for me. Judy's coming to help me run away. Hate to risk Judy and John being here when she finally comes. She's angry and she don't forget. Never interrupt her meals, Dave. She's not above adults, Dave. She just loves the children best, Dave. If you ever catch her awful whiff of abnormality in this universe, write it off as a dream. Don't investigate further. Leave it alone no matter what. Don't tell anyone what I said. It's for your eyes only. Delete this. Never come back from me or George Keller or Barbara Dunwick. Let the administrators have it their way. Their way is nice and safe and sane. Dave, I'm leaving. I'm never coming back, Dave. If I come back, Dave, douse me and light me up because I won't be me. Because when that person who walks through that door will not be me. By the way, Dave, when I leave, there will be a new spot for an instructor. Side note, leave a want ad. Teachers are wanted. Must love children. Your friend always. Ill case.